You are now listening to Femme podcast with Tessa Markle
and Carolina Alvarez.
Femme.
It's awesome that, studying what we went into in this episode, studying psychology and like all of that. Like I'm having conversations with you because you're going into the psychology of the characters in a script. And it's like really, and even as an actor, oh my God, the psychology that we go into studying our characters and understanding ourselves, even I think as humans, like it's interesting. How do people work and what ticks? And now we learned a lot more how even law is this psychology that's behind it, even more so and so personal. I think in this episode we really debunked, like for me at least. I know you studied some of it, but I think I can be the average person, hopefully. Sorry to speak for everyone. But like I don't know. I didn't know how much more in depth they really go to, like from the start. Like dang. We had on today the lovely Nadia Davari. She is an entertainment lawyer, an experienced attorney whose practices bridges the diverse realms of technology, entertainment, new media, corporate, and business law. She works with a range of clients, including digital media companies, new business startups, tech companies, production companies, movie studios, television networks, investors and talent representation. I know that's like a really long list, but in our interview, we do go into the entertainment law specifically that she works with in that division and with those types of clients. So you guys, you will be hearing more of that side, why you need one, when do you start hiring one, and like how much more personal they are with you on a project, and that they really are invested and they're there kind of to just kind of coach alongside of you. I can imagine how many instances that would really help Tessa and I as we begin more of our bigger projects. And, everything's a contract and you just really want to save yourself. So I think we really like keep reiterating that throughout the entire episode. But if you're like me and didn't know that they really are so like it was just so cool to see how much more passionate and creative they are in a way too with their work.
Yeah. And don't skimp out on this episode if you think like contracts are boring. Like listen to exactly why you need them to help you, because especially actually if you think contracts are boring, you can hire someone to take care of that for you, and you need to because you don't know what you're doing. So make sure you listen, make sure you learn from this episode.
We love you guys. I hope you enjoy this one.
Girl, have you listened to Hags yet?
Oh my God, yes. Let's tell the fam about it.
So, Hags is a weekly podcast dedicated to deconstructing and demystifying how society values gender by asking key questions like, for the love of God, why?
Yep. And each episode begins by celebrating a boss-ass bitch from throughout history before tackling our ever-changing understanding of modern intersectional feminism through history, pop culture, current events, personal anecdotes, and embarrassing childhood stories.
Co-hosts Riley Rose Critchlow and Nicole Weiland are frequently joined by special guests like Gates McFadden, Troyan Belisario, Gina Susanna, Liz Jenkins, Brianna Cuoco, Ione Butler, Jazz Thornton, and Jen Mora from Voices of Hope, and many more.
The show is produced by Alex Reeves and Point of Blue Studios.
Follow them across the social medias at Hags Podcast for more.
Welcome back, fam. Here today, again, we have the lovely Nadia Davari. Hello, Nadia.
Hi. Thank you for having me. Hi, Carolina and Tessa.
Thank you for coming on. Nadia was introduced to us by Joe Williamson. We've had a few of his other clients on the show last season, if you guys remember. So we're a big fan of Joe. Thank you so much for sending us awesome people, Joe. But Nadia, you are our first lawyer on the show. And entertainment law is something that Carolina and I are learning more slowly about what it entails, but it's just there's so much to know about it. And I feel like once you know, get to a point in your career or your films are getting to a point where like distribution, I mean, that seems like such a thing that everybody's like, oh, of course your film is going to be distributed. That's such a normal thing to know about. But like, that's all legal stuff that you need to have an expert for. So if you can kind of just summarize for our listeners, especially those that may not be familiar with what entertainment law is, just broadly kind of what you cover.
Okay. So like you mentioned, entertainment law is a very broad area. It goes anywhere from what we call development, as you know, trying to get a, pull a project together and decide what it is you want to do, to the production, right? And then it goes into the release and distribution of the project, and then later on licensing it. And then that's just making a project. Then you can divide it by different genres, TV, and then that TV can become scripted, unscripted. Then you can go into film, and then of course you have music law, which is a completely different area of law. Then you've got the digital distribution, digital content, and and then you've got the influencer world that is the newest area. You even have podcasts that are really doing well. And then you've got distribution in different mediums, online, or you've got the distribution in theaters, which is it's kind of a area that is in trouble at the moment, and the pandemic is not really helping it. And you've got television, right? So you can really split the area in different ways. So that would be a broad stroke of
Wow.
what.
It's already, you're like listing it on and on. There's so much within each little category. So then do you focus on just one specific aspect of it?
So I work with two other attorneys, and the three of us come from slightly different backgrounds. So Jackie does a lot of music law. She comes from the recording business in Warner Chapel. And then I do a lot of the film and TV. And then the other partner of ours, Kimberlina, does a lot of television. She does a little bit of litigation, comes from a corporate law litigation background. So yeah, we, between the three of us, we kind of cover everything. And having done this business for a long time and have been working as an in-house, what we call in-house lawyer, where you're in-house in a various different places as a lawyer, stuff comes to you that you have to do. Oh, and by the way, another area would be animation. I didn't even mention animation.
Wow.
So that's another area of entertainment, which is slightly different than the rest. So
Of course.
It's like so many different categories you don't even like, you forget that some of them even exist.
So if someone's looking for an entertainment lawyer, is it up to the client to then like really make sure they're finding the right kind of entertainment lawyer, or that's a conversation you would have when you reach out to a firm? How does a filmmaker, I guess because we're more focused on, for the independent filmmakers, probably making short films or like just feature films. Maybe we could touch on
yeah,
TV
so
scripted,
in
you know.
yeah, so in the indie world
Mhm.
is either mostly uh features,
Right.
or maybe doing digital content, or sometimes even unscripted or documentaries, right? So it's much more difficult, as you probably know, to do television independently, and
Right.
there are
Oh,
various
yeah.
reasons. We don't have to get into that. But yes, so if you're in the indie world and you're trying to find a lawyer, you want to make sure you're working with someone who has experience in the indie world, because it's a different beast. You got to be more versatile, you got to be more creative to put the deals together and work with different people, and you know um be more flexible and come up with solutions, right?
Right.
So, and a lot of it has to do with the attorney's background. And also, it's a personal relationship that you need to feel comfortable with that lawyer. It's kind of like picking a doctor or, somebody that you're going to be working with on a long-term basis. And you probably don't want to change them too
Right.
much through your career. So you want to feel somebody who thinks like you. If you want somebody really aggressive, I don't really recommend it in this area. Or if you want someone who is, easier to talk to, or, you just kind of have to see who you like and how you get along with. And then also make sure that they have the right experience for the kind of things that you're looking to do.
Yeah, I mean, that all totally makes sense. It's like there's so much involved with every single film that you want somebody that, is familiar with the film and familiar with you. And, it's like bringing in a therapist after you've shared your life story and then you got to tell it again to somebody new. Like, you don't want to do that.
No.
And what, like,
And it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
If we're just talking about production legal, like doing the legal work on a movie, it is a ton of work. It's very intense. Even on the lawyer side, there's a lot of moving parts. So, you want to make sure that the person has the experience and you like the lawyer and they've got the bandwidth, to dedicate the time to do the project with you.
Yeah.
Oh,
For
wow.
that time period.
Well, I guess. Oh, sorry, Tessa. You were going to say something.
I was just going to say, I feel like it's stressed to indie filmmakers a lot that you need a good entertainment lawyer, but it's not always
Absolutely.
stressed for what. So like, can you kind of tell us specifically what it is that you help your clients cover when they're creating a film?
So it's funny. I can think of so many people who have said to me, oh, but this is my friend. We're just getting together and we're going to make a movie. And why do we need all these documents and all this paperwork? And then, within 5 or 6 months, they come back and say, oh, yes. Okay. Yeah, we need it.
Right.
And it's, think of in a movie. Let's talk about a movie right now.
Yeah, that works.
When you create content, it becomes intellectual property. It's an IP, piece of IP. It's a piece of property, right? Just like a house where when you want to sell it, you have to have the chain of title and you have to know who the owners were and what happened down the line of from the time it was built till now. It's the same thing with the movie. Anybody who contributes to that project, unless you've got the right documentation and agreements, then the ownership becomes questionable. So you need to have a lawyer who drafts all those agreements, lays out the roles and responsibilities of people, and you're all on the same page with the people that you're working with. Makes sense?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
definitely
totally.
does. I mean, I know like we've tried to learn a little bit about contracts in general, but obviously that's like way beyond our level of expertise. We even talked about them in season 1, I believe that was, right, Carolina, with Victoria, that it's like, it's so hard to navigate through all of those things as a filmmaker of what you need and what needs to be covered. But I mean, is that something, I guess, you as like, say we wanted to hire you for a film that we created, so would we get a hold of you kind of in the very beginning and say, hey, like tell us now, what needs to be covered, as
The
opposed to
sooner
going
the
back?
better.
Yeah.
See, that's something I don't think most filmmakers know at all.
No,
You should
you
know
have to do it
from the
beginning.
start, and I would have
From the
never known
beginning.
that. So thank you.
100%. So there's so many things to consider with that. First of all, you might think that you have an understanding of how the relationship might work with somebody who helped you write the script, or somebody who's working on your project as a producer or as director, whatever it may be. But what they're thinking might be very different than what you're thinking, right? And then when you have the lawyer can do that negotiation and that documentation and write those agreements for you, and kind of get to the bottom of what's going on, and what people's expectations are, and how this relationship is going to work out. So that's kind of why you want to have the lawyer involved from the beginning. And then it's much more difficult to try and go back and find the people who were working on your project, and maybe now they've already been paid to get them to sign a document, or
Mhm.
and then doing it ahead of time avoids a lot of things that could go wrong during the project. Maybe in negotiating the agreement, you realize that they have expectations that you're not really feeling comfortable with, and you might want to decide to pick someone else to do a role, or be performing a service, or whatever it may be.
Mhm.
Mm. So then those contracts not only tie in with just the producers, but it's like when you will help write up contracts for the cinematographers and directors
All of
involved,
them.
all of them.
Everybody, even the location agreement, even if you have vendors or post
Wow.
house,
Mhm.
special effects, anybody who comes around this project, you need to have the documentation. Then there's IP issues involved as well.
Mhm.
So you might have to get it registered with the copyright office. And then music, if you're using music, are you getting somebody to write the music for you? Are you licensing the music? And then you've got to do your clearances, like this shot behind me, you probably don't want to have it without clearing the rights,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Right.
You probably all know this because you're filmmakers, you went to film school.
Right,
Actually,
but
we
it's
didn't.
we actually didn't go to film
We did
school.
not go to film school. And that's why we have this podcast, because we bring in people from all kinds of backgrounds who went to film school, who,
Mhm.
yeah, like got their master's in writing or whoever. And then next thing, but then there's a larger group now that we're seeing that didn't go to film
Mhm.
school, because you can really create anything
Yeah.
nowadays on your phone. And
Mhm.
there's so many resources. So again, like having you on the show is amazing, because a lot of us are just trying to understand it on your own, and using
Yeah.
resources like this podcast to like be like, oh shit, I like really need to rethink this,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of involved. And it sounds like you really mitigate everyone's expectations in a way that maybe helps better the relationship of all parties that are involved on a project.
Well, think of it this way: instead of creating liability for yourself, or a lawsuit at the end,
Mhm.
you get it all down in writing in the beginning,
Mhm.
and you
Right.
avoid a lot of those problems. And it's better to kind of come to an understanding from the beginning than wait till the end, which our goal is to prevent any of those things from happening. And sometimes people say, oh, a lawyer is so expensive, I don't want to spend the money. I'm thinking, and then the answer to that is try not having a lawyer and see how expensive it is to go into litigation.
Right. I was just going to say something along those lines too. It's like it's so much of it seems like common sense, right? Like you want to cover all those grounds before you have to think about it. But at the same time, yeah, it is expensive to hire a lawyer, but like that's why we made our production company an LLC. Yes, that costs money for taxes every year, but like it was worth it to save ourselves from what could happen. I mean, it's the same reason any of
Mhm.
us have insurance, health insurance, all of that.
It is way more expensive not to have a lawyer. There's a
Yeah.
reason why there are so many lawyers who do what I do,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And why you need entertainment lawyers,
Yeah.
because problems will come of it. This is not the first time anybody has made a movie, and it's not going to be the last time. And you can't reinvent the wheel. You got to do it a certain way, according to certain steps.
Yeah.
So
I'm just curious, do you have any like horror stories of clients that have come to you like, oh my God, now I'm, stuck in this predicament. I need your help. I should have done it earlier.
many, 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 many,
Yeah.
many, many.
Mm.
I don't know what the block is with talking with a lawyer. The lawyer can become, or should be,
Hmm.
your secret weapon, your best friend, not in the literal sense, but
Yeah.
you know um your confidant, and someone who is helping you achieve what you're trying to do.
Hmm.
And someone who
So
sticks with you, well, again, why you say to do it from the beginning is they're with you through that entire journey, and till even distribution, I'm sure. So like they
all
really
the way,
all the
all the
way.
way. Yeah, I think the biggest block that is people don't want to spend money,
Mhm.
right? But I think that's a short-sighted view. And I'm not saying that because I'm a lawyer. I'm saying that because it's really, it goes down that way. Maybe
Yeah.
you can, work with your lawyer and say, hey, this budget of this project is this. Could you cut us a deal? Can you,
Mm.
can we pay you at the back end or whatever, when the movie's made? Or maybe we pay you more on this project, on this project, you can work with us. So you can work out a way, but that becomes a part of the budget of the movie, the cost of doing business, the
Mhm.
cost of making the movie.
And I love that you said confidant, because I think in a way, if you establish that relationship with the right entertainment lawyer, that they really can have your back when you really need it. And
They're looking out for you.
Yeah.
They're really looking out for you. The lawyer is really looking out for you. So,
Yeah.
you want to have that person in your corner.
yeah, and because then like I would imagine like who knows, like then if you do really need it, it could be on another project. You just have that person in your back pocket. I feel
Mhm.
like that's such a like you're kind of positioning it in a way of relief. Like it's your first aid kit, you know. They're there, they know you. It's not like some okay, now I have a random stranger I have to call and get them to work with me and they don't know me and now I sound like a hot mess.
No, but also if you're working with people who've been in the business, it gives you legitimacy
Mhm.
because everybody's gonna have a lawyer.
Exactly.
You know,
And
no one's gonna do their own stuff. It's just not.
it's just not how it's done. Yeah. And I think
You just can't do it. It's not even, we went to school for 3 years of law school and then we spent all this time doing it, so there's a lot to cover and there's a lot to know and a lot to watch out for.
yeah.
You've got all the producing, you've got to do all the writing, you've got to do all the creative decisions you have to make.
Mhm.
You don't want to have to worry about that as well,
Right.
right?
So true.
Yeah. And I think it's important too that you mentioned like again, we all know lawyers cost money, but like put it in your budget from the start. Like that's so important. I mean, it's like marketing was a big thing that thankfully we learned early on, but not as early on as we could have, to include that in your budget to start. Don't just, budget for the film and then after it's done, 6 months down the line, oh shit, I have no money left over to make a trailer. I have no money left over to advertise. Like, same way with an entertainment lawyer, just plan for that in your budget from the very beginning.
That's right. So it's just part of doing the cost of doing business.
Yeah.
That's all. If you think of it that way, I think it will make it a lot less painful.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just part of the business plan for the
Yeah.
project.
It's putting on that
Yeah.
business brain. That's tough for creatives sometimes, but it's all important for sure.
Yeah.
And would you say the rates would vary per project, I mean, obviously per lawyer, but are we like
There are different
talking
ways of you're asking me how can we work with an attorney,
Yeah.
right?
and what
So
to
there,
expect? What is it as scary as
well,
everyone makes it sound?
um, yes, lawyers are expensive, but because it takes time to do work and it takes training to do the work, and the lawyer has spent many hours and many days and many years to be able to give you the advice that you're asking.
Yeah.
And they've had to pay for their law school and their undergrad too.
Yeah.
So they've got to pay for all of that, right? So that's
Absolutely.
why it's expensive. Um, but yes, there could be a range of what different lawyers charge, either hourly or per project basis, or a flat rate, and then those are the things that you would talk with your lawyer. But um, you know, you should respect other people for the work they do
Yeah.
and the amount of time they have to spend and their training.
Mhm.
So, and they should be compensated for that, just like anyone else. Like, no one's going to come and work on your project and be the cinematographer if you don't pay them. No one's going
Absolutely.
to write the project for you, or no one is going to become the director or write the music, right?
Absolutely.
So, why are you expecting that from the lawyer? And you feel like the lawyer is a superfluous thing that is not really adding to your project. But, think of it if you didn't have it,
Right.
all the things that could go wrong.
No, I think that's really important that you just put that in the forefront, because there's a reason why their cost is there. And it's, again, like what you said earlier, to save you from the bigger headaches that could happen, like the more money you'd have to spend for something you didn't cover.
Yeah.
You don't want to be in litigation. That is way more expensive and so emotionally draining.
Yeah.
Mm,
So you want to kind of do the stuff up front, which will be a fraction.
Right. Exactly.
gotcha. No, I love that. Is there any
Yeah, most generally will be much less expensive.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, I'm Chris Fafalius, and I'm the producer of Krista Makes a Podcast and the host of the One Hit Thunder podcast.
And I'm Matt Kelly, host of Horror Movie Night and the producer / the head of content for the Geekscape Podcasting Network.
Between the two of us, we have, believe it or not, 25 years of podcasting experience, and we want to help you start your own podcast.
We know podcasting, and we want to share that knowledge with you.
So whether you're new to podcasting or you want some feedback on your currently active podcast, we want to help.
Or perhaps you're just overwhelmed with all of the editing work. Well, we can help you with that also.
You can contact us at info@weknowpodcasting.com for more information.
We're excited to help your podcasting dreams become a reality.
what advice would you give to a filmmaker who wants to approach a lawyer? Is there like some the best practice questions that they can ask to make sure that they're going to be with the right fit?
Right. So, you want to talk, you know what? I think after you want to tell the lawyer what kind of work you're trying to do, and then ask them about their experience and what they've done.
Mhm.
So that
That's
would be
just
step
one.
number one.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then like what projects have they worked on before, and what kinds of places have they been before?
Mhm.
That's
And
huge.
then
That's something I probably wouldn't think to really ask them about.
sure.
That's really great.
And then ask them, how do they get compensated? Do they do project by project or hourly or a blend,
Mm-hmm.
And then I think you can, after a conversation or two, you can see if you have a rapport with that person, right?
Right.
And how you feel about how they approach problems, or, negotiating deals or
Mhm.
agreements, and you get a feel for it.
Yeah, that all makes sense. I mean, it's really like you said, it's making sure you're comfortable with someone, making sure they suit you as, someone that you're doing business with, and then to make sure that they suit your project as well. Yeah, totally makes sense. And I'm curious too, just kind of your personal journey, Nadia, like what made you want to go into law? Did you want to do entertainment and decided you wanted to go to legal side of that? Or did you know you wanted to do law and then decided on entertainment? How did that all happen?
Well, my background is completely off the left field, so to speak. I was a molecular biology major. I
Oh,
was a
wow.
pre-med
Mhm.
at UCLA, and
Wow.
then I changed directions completely. I went to law school, and then at USC, I decided that I really wanted to do this kind of law. I took a couple of classes. USC is very entertainment heavy. We've got the best film school in the nation. And we had classes taught by attorneys who practice entertainment law, and then in the business school we could take classes on the business of entertainment.
Mhm.
So I did that, and then I was very lucky. I got a law clerkship position right when I was in law school at a small firm that does this entertainment law, and then it just kind of went in that direction.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love hearing those stories that it's just kind of like, I was doing something completely different and then discovered this and pivoted. That's really fun.
What I thought, yeah, that's just so crazy. Like pre-med, like that, was there just a moment that really where you're just like, yeah, like it sounds like it just kind of like shifted in your head.
Well, it's not that different, and I tell you how. So a patient, you're dealing with their health, right? And my clients, I'm dealing with, they're creating something, and they're building something. So you're a counselor, right? In different ways, right? So and you wind up having the confidences of your patients or your clients and kind of helping them make the right decisions or navigate or make sense of and explain and analyze. So in a broad perspective, it's the same kind of relationship, just for different situations, if that makes any sense.
It does. Yeah, it does.
So you're not dealing with people's health, but as a lawyer, you're dealing with people's livelihoods,
Yeah.
or their, if you're family law attorneys with their most private, intimate relationships, or if you're an estate planning attorney with how they're gonna, divvy up their wealth after they're, after they're gone. Or, if you're a criminal attorney, you could literally save their lives,
Yeah.
from perishing. Or even if you're a medical malpractice or workers' comp, you can have such a profound effect on other people's lives.
Yeah.
That's
makes
a
sense.
really great way of putting it. And I love the intimate kind of more relationship like you have with a doctor that like that's probably why you compared it to one right from the start. It's like having that family doctor that you go to for years because they really know you on a more intimate level and what you're dealing with. So I see, yeah, I
And they can
totally
help
see
you
it.
navigate as you're trying to make your projects, and the lawyer will know the different players in town and know you and kind of, maybe you shouldn't go this way, maybe you should consider going that way, that kind of a thing.
I love that. I never see it. That's what's so great with having you on because I would never think that it would be so like a counselor, like
So personal.
Totally
confidant,
hands-on.
so
Totally
personal.
hands-on. A lot of entertainment lawyers wind up becoming producers, or they, they're uh, you know they're almost a de facto producer.
Yeah.
I
That
don't know
makes sense.
why that's like ingrained in my head that
Yeah.
like lawyers are these scary people that you only come to deal with it. You know what I
Thinking
mean?
about litigators.
Yeah.
You're thinking about litigators.
Probably. And that's why I love again that you're here because it's just kind of like debunks all those thoughts and like how much more of a counselor you guys really are because especially if you're not didn't go to business school and are navigating through this entire crazy world of production that we do. It's like so great to have someone who has that mindset, well, you like you said, you focus on the creative and you allow your brain to go there, and then you have someone else come in and can really work with you on that.
And you're emotionally invested in your projects, right?
Right.
But the lawyer can keep clear and make decisions that may be more analytical.
Mm-hmm. And guide you in
So you
that
have
way.
somebody who can kind of step back and look at the situation and tell you like it is.
Yeah.
Mm.
Funny enough, fun fact about myself, I started off as pre-law and ended up majoring in psychology, which is what I have my degree in, and clearly didn't pursue either of those things and I'm now in filmmaking, but that's kind of funny because that all now kind of ties in and totally makes sense. So my life is not as crazy and messy as I thought it was then. That's really funny.
No.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. And you need psychology in whatever you do. I think half of what we do as lawyers is try and understand what our clients really are saying or what they really are wanting and what the other side is really saying and wanting and how to get there.
Yeah.
So you can't go wrong with that degree.
Yeah. And I think I like how you just said that too, like what they're really saying, what they're really wanting. Cause I think there's so many times when like us as filmmakers just feel like, we want to do this thing or we want to have this something be a part of our movie, but like, we don't know how to do it. We don't know where the legalities lie with it or, all of that stuff. So I think
And it can become overwhelming. There's
Exactly.
just so much to consider,
Exactly.
Yeah. You want to divide responsibilities and put the people who are best at what they do to do those things. Just like you don't want to perform all the different tasks on your project,
Mhm.
you know, you want to have someone who knows and who's a professional in that area kind of deal with that.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about like what our filmmaking audience can expect when working with an entertainment lawyer. But I'm also, if there's anybody listening that's a track they want to follow with their career, I guess kind of what can they expect to be doing? I mean, we've talked about like what your job covers, but I'm assuming kind of work almost on retainer for certain companies as well, as opposed to just individual projects, like kind of, I guess, just that, like what to expect as an entertainment lawyer.
Um, well, I would really, if anybody's considering it, I would really try and encourage them to see the reasons why they're doing it,
Mm.
because it's not as sexy as it
Mhm.
sounds. You know, it's hard work. Just like I'm sure you both can attest that making a movie is not sexy, it's
Mhm.
just a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
Amen, sis.
So, and frustration and, you know, all the other things. So, same thing with what I do.
Mhm.
And you have to analyze why you really want to do it. That's really important. Um, and as far as what fields you can go to, a lot of entertainment lawyers work in law firms or in studios and companies for companies. Depends on how, you know, what you want to do, or if you want to go into litigation, so you're going to court and you're litigating cases, or you want to do transactional, you know, making a deal and
Mhm.
drafting up the agreements. It just depends. So broadly speaking, those are the different things that you can consider doing.
Makes sense. I'm learning so much from this.
No, same
I'm
here.
glad.
Yeah.
And same here. And like I said, you've like kind of debunked what an entertainment lawyer really handles. I really thought maybe it was just paperwork and then handling the hard stuff. And like there's no like real relationship. And it's amazing to see that how invested you are. And I can tell like you're in it for those reasons, you know, to help the
Mhm.
creative and to help them get their project where they want it to be. And that's so great to have someone in your ear. And there's a price to pay for it, but it's like it's worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you, me and the lawyers that I know and my two partners, we get deeply invested. You know, it becomes something that we're rooting for too.
Yeah.
You
Yay.
can't not feel that way about it. You know, the
Yeah.
money is not enough to be the sole reason of you know, why you want to do this.
Yeah.
You know, it can be the sole incentive, because it's just too much work and not enough money for it, even as the lawyer side.
Yeah.
um and it's a lot of frustration and hit and go, just like, you know, making a movie. It's the same thing. You're in it with your client.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know. Like producer, director can sound like a sexy title for sure too. I love that you said that. And it's like there's a lot that goes into it that's not so sexy.
Yeah.
But we
In
love
fact,
what we
it is not
do.
sexy at all,
Mhm.
right? In fact, I would say it's not really sexy at all.
Yeah.
No, 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 no. Yeah,
It's
it's
just a lot of
just
stress,
it's
a
just a
lot of
lot
hard
of
work.
but
But
it does feel empowering in a way, and that's sexy to me. Like to be like, I was in charge of this project
Accomplished.
and accomplished, and that's what's sexy. To be like, that was me and my team or whoever.
I
Like,
agree with you 100%.
yeah.
and so like
But you can have that in any, that's not limited to what we do,
Right.
right,
right? In the entertainment
absolutely.
business, that can be in any role, right? That
Absolutely.
sense of accomplishment and empowerment.
And that's why it's
So
not good to just root your foundation for success based on the financial success. We all hope that that's what comes with it. But
100%, that is the most, probably the most important takeaway.
right, right. And I feel like a lot of you filmmakers out there, I know you guys feel for it too. It's a lot of time it really isn't for the money and that's why it kind of stands out we hope we all get paid at the end of the day. And that's why it is important to pay your crew, your staff, the people partnering with you, because we all want to get paid to do this. But if you're getting into business to do producing entertainment law, it sounds very similar. Like it's a lot of hard work. You have to know why you're doing it. And I love that you kind of posed that question, as if you're thinking about doing it, like what are the reasons? And
Mhm.
I love that. And yeah, you definitely I've even Googled it before, entertainment law. I was like, yeah, sounds like I can make some good money doing this. And I'd looked just a tiny paragraph of what that all does. And I was like, nope, not for me. It's okay. We will get the monies another way.
Yeah.
Because yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, because you're right. It's funny that you said a lot of entertainment lawyers do end up falling into producing, and I do see like where that can kind of connect, but yeah, you have to really be in that world, and I'm more a content creator world with the producing, so that's where I was like, that's my passion. I'm going to stay there, stay in that lane.
Yeah.
That's a
But I
smart
love that
person.
you.
That's an intelligent person who's self-aware.
Mhm. For our listeners that are looking to hire an entertainment lawyer, where could they learn more about you and your firm and or other ones as well? Like, where's a good place to search? Should you just Google entertainment lawyers? Like, how do you find them to begin with?
Well, I'm really easy. You just go to www.nadiadavari.com.
Perfect.
Everything is right there.
Perfect.
I
Amazing.
love that.
But yes, you can Google. Entertainment lawyers mostly tend to be in Los Angeles and New York, and I would say even more so in LA than New York.
Sure.
And you want to, there are attorneys who are in different geographical areas and very good, but you'll just have, there's a greater number of to choose from,
Mhm.
Mhm.
I should say, in in LA and mainly in West LA.
Mhm.
So yeah, just spend a little time, just like anything else, looking up and then talking to your friends and talking to the lawyer. And um eh, if you do a little bit of research, it should become apparent
Mm.
how you feel and how that person is, and get a feel for it. And no one's going to charge you for the first conversation, so you'll get a better understanding of what's going on.
Mhm. Makes
That's
sense.
that's nice to hear too. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like, okay, charging you right from the start. This is it. So that's good to know. Like, take those meetings and really like feel, if that's going to be a good fit or
Yeah,
not.
but you don't want to abuse the other person either.
Right.
You don't want to keep calling, because imagine if the lawyer had 10 free calls a day,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It reminds me, like, as an actor, of like contacting agents and interviewing with agents and finding the right agent for
Mm.
you. It's like they're working all day, every day. You don't want to bother them any more than you need to, but you do need to have that conversation and make sure you guys are a good fit because you're working for each other. So it's a very similar thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very intimate, it becomes a very intimate and personal relationship.
Mhm.
Mm.
Definitely. And then I don't know if you're more of a private person or not, but if there was anything social media wise or anything like that that you wanted to promote or share, you're more than welcome to as well.
Oh, you can find me on Twitter, you can find me on Facebook, and you can find me on Instagram.
Awesome.
Nadia Davari.
That's easy. And we'll put it in the show notes,
It's
guys, too.
very-
Um,
if any of you guys need me, I'm happy to be a resource. Like I said, you don't go into this area of law just for the sake of money.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think you can do anything for just money.
The
Honestly.
people that do are
not
the
at least
miserable
find,
ones.
I was just going to say, and not find happiness.
Right.
I truly believe you will be your happiest when you're not seeking that as your like reason to do anything. So it's actually, I love that you say that. And those are the people we want to be in business with, that it's not, okay, I just want the money, I want the paycheck and I'm done. Like, I don't want to
Yeah.
hire anybody
No.
who's after that.
It just doesn't work that way, because you couldn't pay me enough for all the work I do.
Right. I can imagine.
Exactly. And it goes to, hiring exactly like your staff, like your DP, your cinematographer, like I want them to be invested in the project. Otherwise, then I don't really want to do business, because then you won't care for the little things that,
Right.
we're looking for. So I think that I love that it goes the same thing into working with you, Nadia. And I love your passion for
Mhm.
it. That's really inspiring to hear that, it just bleeds into all sides of production. Like even someone as yourself, you want someone who cares and like in it for you and for the benefit of you and your project, because they're excited about it. It sounds like you're just as creative, just on a different way,
Mhm.
in a
Oh,
different way.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I come from a creative background. My mom is an artist. She paints,
Oh, amazing.
and I've been
I love
involved in
that.
music all my life. So yeah.
I love
Nice.
that. And thank you for extending that to us. We will definitely keep you in our corner.
Yeah,
'Cause
you're
who
on our
knows?
contact list of legal.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening to Femme Regard Podcast. If you like what you hear, tune in every Friday for more tips on the filmmaking business and insightful conversations with industry professionals.
We can only grow with your support, so please subscribe, share, rate, and review. You can also join the Femme Fam on Patreon. For more on us, check us out at femregard.com.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.